replace healthcare human resources. One thing I can categorically state is AI has made transformational changes in many fields, and I'm sure many of you are experiencing this transformational change in whenever you pick up your phone or log on to the laptop or start chatting or go on to Google, I'm sure, or LinkedIn, you would be experiencing this AI in various formats. And healthcare is no exception. So AI has definitely impacted healthcare and is creating multiple uses, multiple benefits for all the stakeholders. When I mean all the stakeholders in healthcare, it includes the patients, the providers, which is the hospitals, the clinics, the doctors, the payers, it could be the insurance companies, which could be the governments or whoever is paying for care, the researchers, whoever is doing a lot of research, trying to identify new molecules, new drugs, new diagnostic tests, new treatment modalities, and then community at large also is being impacted in a positive way. But the real thing is the clinical part of the human resources in healthcare will never be replaced. AI will only supplement, complement, and improve the efficiency of the clinical workforce and would never be able to replace the clinical workforce. While on the administrative side, some of the functions are already becoming obsolete, and some more functions will become more obsolete in the future as AI makes its way into the deeper parts of healthcare. So the reality is that, and it's not really a hype, it is a reality, and it is going to make a big difference. And as you all know, the need actually triggers solutions. And when there is a disaster, it triggers bigger solutions. IT and healthcare has never seen this sort of a focus before COVID. And despite whatever bad the COVID did, one good thing that COVID did was it transformed the healthcare IT part of the entire healthcare spectrum, and multiple newer applications came into the fold, and multiple new ways, new models of care came into the fold. And when you take telemedicine, it actually existed for over 2 decades in the world, but it never took off. But COVID was such a disaster. It provided the fillip for telemedicine to take off in a big way. And you can see the projections for telemedicine business in not too far a future. In just 2027, it's as big as $397 billion, which is huge compared to what it used to be pre-COVID. Now, what is this AI? To simplify it and to make it easy for people like me to understand, a lot of data is there. Data is collected at every step, and it's put into different formats, whether it's machine learning or what they call natural language processing or computer vision. And these processes create AI algorithms. And it is these AI algorithms which are used across different fields and across different sectors. Now, the most important ingredient for AI is the data. And the data even more when it comes to healthcare. Because unless we record data in a readable manner for the machine, in a manner which is consistent for the machine to understand, and in a manner in which the machine can decipher, it is never going to be able to put out sensible AI solutions. I'll just give you an example. Weight in our part of the world of an individual is put in kgs. In the Western world, it's pounds. Now the machine doesn't understand the difference between the pounds and kgs, and it doesn't make sense to the machine. Similarly, when you put in many other parameters which go into the machine, one of the most important thing is to make sure that the data which we are putting in is standardized, and it is reproducible, and it is readable. So the data is the most important foundation for any AI, and healthcare is no exception. Unfortunately, we tend to ignore this part of the story, but as AI is growing, more and more importance needs to be paid to the way we use data, how we standardize the nomenclature, and how we put data into the systems. And to begin with, to start putting data into the systems. And the biggest culprits for non-compliance in terms of using the systems and putting data into the systems is doctors. And it's only when the doctors start putting in data into the systems will we get the real value of AI in healthcare. Now, when it comes to telemedicine and teleconsults, there are multiple benefits that are already being seen. One is using algorithms without human interface. It can take history based and take the symptoms, read the diagnostic tests, highlight those which are abnormal, and then based on the history, symptoms, and diagnostics with inbuilt algorithms, come up with a preliminary diagnosis, and then refer this to an appropriate doctor as per the algorithm that is built in. And the doctor obviously gives an advice. And the algorithms are now available where the AI can actually throw up prompts for the doctor in case he or she is forgetting to put in something into the advice. And the doctor may or may not accept the prompts, but the final advice does come from the doctor. And then there's a huge benefit in terms of follow-up. As an example, a diabetic is supposed to get his blood sugar, say, the doctor asks him to get an HbA1c done once in 3 weeks, or once in a month, or once in 3 months. The system picks it up and automatically sends a message before the time when the reminder for getting the HbA1c done, and continues to follow up till the report is entered into the system. So it actually definitely improves the efficiency and the outcomes of a teleconsult. And this is being used extensively. And some of the platforms have gone a step ahead and started using chatbots. And these chatbots are also, you would have experienced them in some of the other sectors, but here in healthcare also, there's tremendous use for chatbots where they can be used to enhance the speed of response. One of the things which is very important and where healthcare is probably, as a sector, is found wanting is the response times and the turnaround times. When there's an inquiry coming in or when there's a question asked, the response times are always a challenge. So chatbots are extremely useful in enhancing the speed of response. They can efficiently, based on the inbuilt AI algorithms, triage a patient and then direct the patient to the right doctor for that particular patient. All this would have otherwise had to be done by a medical professional whose time is now being saved, and his efficiency is improved, and his skills and time is actually being used for the most critical part of the diagnosis and treatment. So it's also become a very good tool for keeping the patient engaged in terms of making sure that the patient remains with the healthcare system he or she is got in touch with. So chatbots are another part of AI which are being used in a big way across the healthcare system. Babylon is a company in the UK. It was in the US also, which is using chatbots in a big way to triage patients, analyzing the symptoms, and arriving at a diagnosis and then following up. And they are able to reduce the burden on the healthcare human resources, which are scarce in the UK. which are overloaded, and you must be knowing this. The waiting times, let's say for an MRI, is a couple of months, 6 months to 1 year. In a system which is so overloaded, AI is actually providing some of the solutions to bring down waiting times and to utilize the scarce healthcare human resources in a better manner. And there have been multiple other applications which have come up. I won't be able to go through the whole thing it will be a day-long seminar, but I'll just highlight a few so that you understand what is happening. Now, cervical cancer is the commonest type of cancer in India, and it occurs in the lower socioeconomic groups. And when diagnosed early, it is completely curable. But unfortunately, because it happens in the lower socioeconomic groups, and the screening process for cervical cancer is also a difficult process because somebody has to do a PV examination, take a smear from the cervix, and then put it on a slide, make a smear, put it on a slide, and then a pathologist has to read the slide, and then again, it needs to come back to the patient and the caregiver. So this is a cumbersome process, and it takes anywhere between 24 to 48 hours after the smear is taken before the report is available. So a smart Israeli company, what it did was, with a high-resolution camera, it just takes the picture of a cervix, and using the regular telephone, it sends the picture to a cloud-based AI system, which reads the picture and, as per the algorithm, sends back to the phone the probability of that particular individual having cervical cancer. Now, once this happens in few seconds or few minutes, we are able to screen more efficiently, much faster, and we don't lose patients. And this is able to pick up cervical cancer at a much earlier stage, and therefore it is able to provide us with an opportunity for curative care for cervical cancer, rather than coming up in an advanced stage where a lot more resources, money is spent with a lot more mortality and morbidity. And similarly, very interesting things are happening on the radiology front in terms of AI. For example, a person with a head injury, if you upload an MRI, the cloud algorithm actually will be able to predict the prognosis of a patient with head injury, how long will he take to recover, and such stuff like that. And similarly with telepathology, teleophthalmology, almost every area today we can see that the AI is bringing in and adding value and creating more efficiency, creating speed for what a clinician can do. So as I told you, a medical diagnosis and predictive analysis, we are now moving into a stage where we are able to predict a particular disease. And if we are able to predict a particular disease, we would be able to prevent it from happening. And we have gone to that stage. Fortunately, the medical research has taken us to predictive, proactive medicine, where more precise care can be offered. Now, for example, all of you would have heard about preventive health checks. And on most occasions, a preventive health check is a battery of tests, which is similar for a 65-year-old woman, is similar for a 35-year-old woman, and similar for a 20-year-old woman. It's the same battery of tests which are done. And you would see this battery, diagnostic centers offering a laundry list of tests for 300 rupees, 400 rupees. But actually, does it make sense? Answer is no, because no two individuals are different, no two age groups are different, and no two people are different in terms of the genetic predisposition to a disease. So AI, based on the brief epidemiology and the patient information that is put into the system, would actually be able to predict the list of tests that are relevant for that particular individual based on history, family history, age, the location, the area where the people are living and stuff like that. And this list makes much more sense in terms of preventive medicine because it is personalized for that particular individual, and it is not a laundry list of tests which is done for everybody. This is the simplest application of AI in predictive medicine. Then there are a lot of drug discoveries happening. And because a lot of drug discoveries happening, we are now getting into personalized medicine. The same type of cancer does not behave in the same manner for two individuals. Even when it is diagnosed at the same stage. Therefore, people have now gone to the genetic basis of cancer in an individual, and the genetic basis actually throws up different treatment modalities based on AI algorithms for two individuals with the same cancer in the same age group at the same stage. So AI is actually also helping us. AI and our understanding of the genetic genomes is actually helping us to get into more of personalized medicine, which is individualized to a particular patient and delivering better outcomes. And precision is the next thing. AI is actually helping us deliver more precise procedures. And again, I'll have, because we started talking about oncology, again, talking about cancer. Normally, radiation is a dreaded treatment most of the times, and it causes more morbidity than the disease itself. But what happens, the reason for that is, apart from the cancerous cells, the radiation also exposes the normal cells on its way to the cancerous cells or around the cancerous cells. Now, with AI, with a lot more understanding of physics, we are now able to minimize the collateral damage to the tissues due to radiation, and therefore the treatment is becoming more precise. So precision medicine is becoming possible today with the advances that we've been made, that we made not just in terms of AI, but also in terms of understanding, in terms of physics, in terms of drug discovery, and in terms of understanding individuals. Now, thanks again to COVID, there's been a revolution which has happened, which is the wearable devices. Today, almost anything you wear can give you medical data, starting from your watches, which are probably the oldest, to your glucometers. Now you even have the rings and the straps and goggles, which give you a lot more information about your health, and on a continuous basis, and can be transmitted using your phone to any part of the world. So the wearables have actually transformed the way we are able to take care of patients, have increased the access to patients, and have been able to address the workforce shortages in some part of the world. Again, because there's a lot of AI built into these wearable devices. It has enhanced patient care. Imagine a patient who's at home and is getting ectopic beats in his heart. It can be identified by a person monitoring the patient on a system somewhere else in some other part of the world and alerted. So it is enhancing patient care. It is improving, expanding telemedicine. Chronic disease management is another thing, like again, hypertension, diabetes, and all these things are which not episodic. They're not something which go away. They remain with an individual for a lifetime and need to be managed. And they need to be managed even when they're outside the hospital settings. And this is where wearable devices coupled with AI are making a huge difference in the way chronic diseases are managed. And as I told you, research and innovation, again, wearables are giving us data and information in such a manner that we could do a lot more research and innovation and create more AI algorithms out of this. And the decision-making prompts are also becoming much more easy for us, and we are able to understand the data which is coming in much more than ever before. So wearables have actually transformed the way we practice medicine now, and they're being used in multiple settings. E-emergency. Now imagine a patient who is outside, who's had an MI in, let's say, or a stroke and is about 100 kilometers away from the nearest hospital. Yeah, and as you know, in an MI or stroke, every second makes a difference for the individual. If you can actually thrombolize the patient or start treatment for the patient at the spot where the ambulance picks them up with the guidance of an emergency physician sitting 100 kilometers away, and also on top of it, if an AI algorithm is built for the paramedic to depend on, to give him prompts, to make him go through the protocol which is required to be followed for managing an MI, the efficiency and the outcome of that person would be much different than what it used to be in the past. And most often, these patients used to be brought dead to the hospital. And today, we are able to change that scenario big time. Similarly, there is a severe shortage of critical care specialists across the world, not just in India, but across the world. Now you got EICUs where a single doctor can monitor 500 beds, 1,000 beds, because AI is because the data flows into the control room, and AI is able to pick up early warning signs of patients in the ICUs and in the hospitals and throw that prompt up for the doctor sitting in the control room. So he focuses on the patient, he or she focuses on the patient that requires help and is able to guide the other end where the patient is sitting in terms of what the intervention that needs to be done. And similarly, home health care, as the population is aging, we are seeing a lot more geriatric population, and home health care is now beginning to become a big thing. And with the wearable devices superimposed with AI on it, e-home healthcare is actually improving outcomes and keeping patients away from hospitals and rehab centers, which is actually decreasing the costs and also improving the socioeconomic and the mental health status of individuals. It's not very good to be in the hospital as far as the mental health is concerned. And if a patient is be able to be at home, get the same sort of treatment and be at home, then the psychological impact that is there on the patient is also significant. And this is a simple, it looks very cluttered, but this is a simple way of demonstrating how it can happen. Now you have the patient on the right side of a screen with all the sensors, different wearable devices which are connected, and it goes through his digital assistant, which could be a simple thing like a phone. It goes in through the Wi-Fi or multiple other systems to the internet and to the cloud or medical. I mean, there may be servers placed in different locations where the AI algorithms sit. They synthesize the information which is coming back from the patient and either send it to the doctor or the nurse or the emergency ambulance or even to the patient in terms of what is to be done when there is something happening or when there's a change in the parameter which needs an intervention from a doctor or a nurse. So this is a simple way of depicting how the flow happens in a patient who's using wearables, is linked to the AI, and is linked to the healthcare system wherever in the world. So to summarize, on the AI is impacting all aspects of healthcare. On the patient-facing front, I talked about the wearable devices. I talked about personalized genetics. I talked about mental health. I talked about chatbots. On telehealth, I spoke to you about the improvement in chronic disease management, telemedicine. Research, I also spoke to you about new drug trials, new drug discovery. And on the doctor-facing front, the medical, the radiology part of it, data analytics, and improving the efficiency of the hospital. So in conclusion, I just want to say that the first step is towards awareness, and I guess most of us are aware that AI is making its way into healthcare, and I'm sure in the future this is going to increase and improve the life of the patients, life of the doctors, and the workforce in a big way. So that's where I stop, and I look forward to any questions, or I'm just trying to see if there are any comments. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Karthik.
Yeah, I have listened everything you said, but I have small doubt.
Yeah,
Is there any AI tools are coming in clinical research side?
there are a lot of tools which are coming in clinical research. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, apart from the actual, clinical part of it, I'm sure if you are working in clinical research, there is so much of non-clinical part of it which is involved, starting from consents to,
Site
uh,
manager.
the site management to actually going back to the sponsor. There's a huge amount of work that needs to be done as a part of the clinical trial. Now, all this is actually being replaced by AI-driven tools gradually, and a lot of data collection is now becoming AI-driven. And at the end of it, a lot of data analytics is becoming AI-driven. So that is one area where clinical research is benefiting in a big way, and that is why we are seeing more and more newer therapeutic options coming out today as compared and faster, much faster than they used to come out in the past.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from anybody?
Yes, sir, this is Ram.
Yeah, Ram.
I have a question on that. So I think challenge what I see, what I'm hearing from hospitals or healthcare, right? The data privacy is one challenge nowadays. Okay, I mean, and the data interoperability. When you talk about, more data is moving from one system to other system. Uh, that's what I see. So, do you have any takeaways on that? How that can be handled in the future?
See, I mean, actually, it is a very good question, but also a question which is where the answer lies in the future, not very far future, in the near future. Because data, I mean, is especially medical data of an individual belongs to the patient, and there's absolutely no doubt about it. And apart from the clinician who's using the data to treat the patient, nobody else has a right to use that data without the consent of the patient.
Mm.
But unfortunately, this India never had a system or a regulation to monitor this data, and did not have guidelines. Now they're coming up with new guidelines in terms of patient confidentiality and privacy. And I guess it's not very far. Once that becomes a law, then everybody would need to follow that law, and that would actually make sure that there's some amount of standardization in terms of how patient data is handled and how privacy is ensured.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Padmini has a question. I didn't get the question. How can we approach in this field as a fresher? I think in any field, what you need to do is understand what you love the most and do that. Understand what you are most passionate about and do that. Don't become a generalist. The future is more and more going to become specific and speciality oriented. It's going to be subspecialization. Even if you are going into healthcare management, it's going to be much more specific. You cannot become a generalized healthcare administrator like we used to be. We used to do everything. You will now need to get into either a clinical or supply chain management or a pharmacy management. So there is a lot of areas within the healthcare spectrum. So choose what you are passionate about, choose what you enjoy the most, and try and specialize into that area of the healthcare field. Any more questions? Okay, there's one more from Divya Prasad. What is the latest research on AI tool in clinical research, or any AI tool we can look forward? I answered this question, I think, no? I answered the AI tool question already.
So, sir, do we have any enterprise AI platforms currently in hospital system? When I say enterprise AI, the integrating all the data sources, like connecting, if we take any, or patient, what to say that operating theater, right? OT. The data has been connected from all devices, and it is going to help us a surgeon to take the best action. I'm just yeah. I mean, currently, do you have any system in India already there?
See, a lot of robotics have come into picture.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of robotics, whether it is, I mean, all of you are used, know that there is a Da Vinci robot which operates on the abdomen, the prostate, and the fibroids and the GI tract. But there are AI for, let's say, a knee replacement. Now, for a knee replacement, you would need to you cut the tibia and the fibula and tibia and the humerus to insert the new joint. Now, where to cut, how much to cut was a more judgmental thing based on the individual surgeon.
Okay.
Now, with the robot coming into place, it has become much more precise, much more accurate. So it is actually improving the outcomes of a knee replacement surgery. I just gave you an example of how it is coming into operating theaters. And similarly, we have robots now which are for angioplasty. The past, we used to, it was more of a clinician decision which used to work.
Right.
But we know that the lesion is so much, so this sort of a stent, this size stent will work. And after it is done, what is the flow of blood through the stent? Everything will be known using the robot and the systems. And it is making a big change in the precision and in the outcomes for a particular patient.
Yeah. In fact, so my in-laws, had a knee replacement, one with the robotic, one with without robotic. Okay, actually, we did in Bangalore, Jainagar with the robotic, and one in Manipal. So, but I see a difference actually. So, yeah.
So that subtle difference is enough for the individual, because after knee replacement in the past, we used to see people limping even after the knee replacement. We used to see them going through painful rehabilitation for many months after that. But now that's all history. Now it's become much more precise, and the person is able to lead a much more normal life than it used to happen in the past.
Right.
Anything else? Let me see anything in the chat box. Yeah, there's a question about telemedicine and villages. Now, you'd be interested to know that multiple states have done this. I'll give you the example of Andhra Pradesh. Actually, Andhra Pradesh had this PHCs. All the states have PHCs. So what they did is they outsourced the PHCs, and they put and the outsourced agency had to put in the telemedicine equipment there. They had to put in the basic diagnostics there, and they had to put in a paramedic worker there. And this they used to make sure that all the people in the village went through the preventive health check screening, where they had the blood tests, which were all fed into the system, and then had a teleconsult whenever they needed with a particular doctor. So this is happening much more than what all of us know, and it has definitely improved the access, and particularly for people living in remote areas and at distant places, and particularly in areas where specialists and super specialists are not available. Another question, difference between automation and AI. Automation is completely different from AI. Automation is doing some process where a machine takes over or a system takes over and it does the same thing in a repeated manner over and over again, and it doesn't change with each cycle or with each person. While AI is something which is more personalized, it is individualized, and it is something which is capable of, it is much more intelligent than a automated system. There's a lot more intelligence involved in AI than in a automated system, and that's why it's able to deliver more precision, more personalized care for the individual. What is the legal challenges of AI in healthcare, like law and regulations? Now, first thing is anything in healthcare needs to be approved. There are approval agencies for things to be used. That is a must. And the next thing is the liability remains the same, and the liability lies with the clinician. Because AI or whatever it is actually being used by the clinician and the hospital. So the liability and legality, it always lies with the physician who is actually treating the patient and the hospital which is where the patient is being treated. And as far as telemedicine is concerned, fortunately, again, COVID made that happen. For many years, there was no regulation, no laws regulating telemedicine. During COVID, because there was such a rise in telemedicine utilization, the government of India actually now has a law which governs telemedicine practice in the country. And that is you can actually look up and you'll understand better in terms of how it is to be used for delivering telemedicine. Somebody has asked an interesting question. Good evening, sir. How does AI exactly work in daily life? Now, this is Sunita. Sunita, do you use a smartphone? You can type if you don't want to speak.
Yes, sir.
If you use a smartphone, I'm sure you must be getting messages asking you to buy something, or you would be getting phone calls giving you offers on different services. Now, if you actually sit back and think about it, you would have searched for something or did something for looking for a particular type of food or particular type of apparel or something like that, and you would be soon flooded with messages or information about that particular thing which you searched for. Now, this is not done by an individual who is reading your phone somewhere. This is done by an algorithm which is set up in the system, which reads what you're looking for and sends you back relevant information in terms of what you're looking for. That is as AI as simple as in a more simple manner in your daily life. And now that is started impacting healthcare also.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, since there are no more questions, should we?
Hello, Dr. Hari. Good evening, Shweta this side. How are you? Thank
I'm
you
good.
so much for taking time out from your busy schedule to speak to our students. And I must say, the session was an absolute delight. It was very informative. And I mean, if provided a chance, we would love to engage with you again in some different capacity, wherein we can have you for a proper master class or something, provided you have the time.
Sure, it'll be a pleasure, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And do write to me if you can, if you need me in any other capacity, I'll be happy to do it. It's always a
Absolutely,
pleasure
sir.
to be with youngsters because we tend to become young when we are with youngsters.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir. I mean, we look forward to having you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. It was a very great lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.